Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the secrets of power, the strategies of leadership, and the astonishing ways ancient civilizations ruled the world. From sprawling empires to hidden dynasties, the story of human history is filled with triumph, innovation, and cunning strategies that shaped the world we live in today. You might think of ancient history as dusty scrolls and faded ruins, but the reality is far more dramatic, captivating, and, in many ways, relatable. Let's embark on this journey together. Imagine a world without modern technology, without airplanes, or even simple cars. Travel was slow, communication was limited to messengers on horseback or ships navigating treacherous waters. Yet, despite these limitations, empires rose and ruled vast territories, sometimes spanning continents. How did they do it? What allowed a civilization to consolidate power, maintain control, and influence the lives of millions across generations? The answers are as fascinating as the stories themselves. Let's start with the Egyptians. Often celebrated for their pyramids and majestic temples, the Egyptians were masters of organization and centralized authority. Pharaohs were not just rulers, they were considered divine, living gods on earth. This wasn't just symbolism, it was a tool for unifying people under a shared belief system. Religion became a powerful mechanism for governance. Temples weren't merely places of worship, they were centers of administration, wealth management, and even record keeping. The Egyptians understood that control over culture, faith, and knowledge could solidify power far more effectively than armies alone. But Egypt wasn't alone in this kind of genius. Across the world, the Mesopotamians, inhabitants of the Fertile Crescent, were pioneering early forms of law, trade, and administration. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest known legal systems, wasn't just about justice. It was about predictability and authority. When citizens understand rules and know the consequences, society becomes easier to govern. Mesopotamian rulers combined infrastructure, irrigation systems, and legal frameworks to not only feed populations, but to maintain loyalty and social order. Moving east, the Indus Valley civilization astonishes historians to this day. Cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were marvels of urban planning. Streets were laid out in grids, sophisticated drainage systems ensured cleanliness, and standardization of weights and measures facilitated trade. Imagine having such foresight in a world without modern tools or computers. The leaders understood that controlling resources, trade, and public infrastructure created stability and prosperity, which in turn reinforced their authority. Power, they realized, was as much about logistics as it was about armies. Then there are the empires built by the early Chinese dynasties. The Zhou, Qin, and Han dynasties demonstrated a remarkable blend of philosophy and administration. Confucian ideals provided a moral framework for governance. Legalist strategies emphasized discipline and central control. The Great Wall of China, often remembered as a monument, was also a practical defense and a psychological symbol of imperial might. The Chinese understood that combining ideology, law, and infrastructure could create an empire resilient enough to last centuries. In the Mediterranean, the Greeks and Romans transformed governance into an art form. The Greeks introduced democracy, philosophy, and debate as tools of influence. Thinkers like Aristotle and Plato weren't just theorists, their ideas shaped how citizens understood ethics, leadership, and civic responsibility. Meanwhile, Rome's success lay in its military discipline, strategic planning, and remarkable administrative systems. Roads, aqueducts, and cities were built not just for comfort, but for control. Legions moved efficiently, taxes were collected, and information traveled fast. It's no coincidence that some of Rome's legal and political concepts still influence modern governments. One of the most fascinating aspects of ancient empires is how they managed diversity. Consider the Persian Empire, which spanned 3 continents. The Persians ruled millions of people from different cultures, languages, and religions. their secret, local autonomy under central authority. Each province could maintain its customs, but they paid tribute and pledged loyalty. Satraps, or governors, oversaw regions and ensured that the emperor's influence extended far beyond the capital. Flexibility and understanding human psychology were just as crucial as military might. Now let's take a closer look at lesser, known but equally powerful civilizations. The Maya in Mesoamerica were extraordinary astronomers and mathematicians. Their rulers maintained authority by intertwining science, religion, and politics. Calendars weren't just tools for marking time. They reinforced the divine right of kings and organized agricultural and ceremonial life. Power was both visible in monumental architecture and invisible in knowledge, ideas, and belief systems. Similarly, the Inca Empire in South America managed a staggering level of complexity without written language as we know it. The quipu, a system of knotted strings, allowed them to track resources, population, and tribute. Roads and messenger networks allowed the emperor to maintain control over vast mountains and valleys. The Incas understood that information was power. Their success shows that even without modern communication, an empire could rule efficiently if knowledge flowed effectively. Across continents, there are common patterns. Ancient civilizations ruled not only through force but by mastering human nature, communication, and organization. They created systems where people were motivated to contribute to the empire, often without realizing how their lives were shaped by the state. Infrastructure, law, religion, and knowledge became tools of power, sometimes more effective than swords and spears. But what about the intrigue, the conspiracies, the hidden struggles? History is full of stories where empires nearly collapsed because of betrayal, mismanagement, or overextension. Consider the Roman Empire. Its fall wasn't sudden, but a slow unraveling of internal weaknesses, economic strains, and external pressures. The same is true for other great powers. Empires often expand faster than they can sustain, and internal politics can be as dangerous as foreign enemies. Behind every magnificent palace and monumental structure, there were whispers of conspiracy, plots, and rivalries that could determine the fate of millions. Leadership mattered immensely. The character of a ruler could make or break a civilization. Take Alexander the Great, whose charisma, strategy, and ambition allowed him to build one of the largest empires in history in a remarkably short time. Contrast him with leaders who inherited power but lacked vision or wisdom, and you see empires crumble. Leadership isn't just about commanding armies. It's about inspiring, organizing, and thinking several moves ahead. Education and culture were also tools of control. Civilizations like Egypt, Greece, and China understood that shaping minds ensured loyalty. Philosophy, religion, and even art were intertwined with governance. The stories told in temples, the lessons in schools, and the rituals performed in cities all reinforced the legitimacy of rulers. People followed not just out of fear, but because they believed in the system. Trade and economics were equally crucial. No empire could thrive without resources. Control of rivers, roads, seas, and trade routes allowed civilizations to accumulate wealth, feed populations, and fund armies. The Phoenicians, for example, became powerful through maritime trade, influencing regions far beyond their homeland. Economic strategy was a silent form of conquest, often more enduring than military victories. Surprisingly, technology also played a role, even in ancient times. Innovations in agriculture, engineering, and warfare allowed empires to expand and sustain themselves. Irrigation systems in Mesopotamia, construction techniques in Egypt, and road networks in Rome weren't just achievements. They were foundations of power. Those who mastered technology could dominate their neighbors and extend influence over generations. As we explore these civilizations, one thing becomes clear. Ruling the world wasn't just about territory. It was about vision, strategy, psychology, and the ability to adapt. Empires fell when they became rigid, when they ignored the needs of their people, or when their leaders underestimated the power of ideas and information. Success required balance, a combination of force, wisdom, and foresight. So, what can we learn from these ancient rulers today? First, understanding human behavior is key to leadership. Second, information, knowledge, and communication are tools of influence. Third, flexibility and innovation are essential for survival, whether you're leading an empire or a modern organization. History is a mirror, showing that power is never static and success is rarely guaranteed. Finally, reflecting on these civilizations reminds us that greatness often comes from vision combined with action. The pharaohs, emperors, and kings weren't merely lucky. They observed, strategized, and understood both their people and their world. Their stories inspire us to think critically, lead wisely, and recognize the delicate balance between authority and responsibility. Ancient civilizations ruled not simply because they had armies or wealth, but because they mastered the art of influence. They built systems that lasted centuries, inspired loyalty, and adapted to challenges in ways that continue to fascinate us today. Whether through architecture, law, religion, or science, they left legacies that shaped our world. So, next time you walk past ruins, read a history book, or marvel at ancient monuments, remember, each stone, scroll, and city tells a story of strategy, ambition, and human ingenuity. These are the lessons of history, timeless, universal, and incredibly relevant. They remind us that true power is earned, not inherited, and that understanding the past can illuminate the path forward. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dynastrix for more incredible stories about the empires, kings, and secrets that shaped the world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering the mysteries of history.